Welcome to the Next Level Physio podcast. So today we're going to talk about fitness, exercise, nutrition, and how it relates to overall health, and how we kind of our personal journey and how we kind of practice that on an everyday kind of scale. I know one of the most frequently asked questions that people ask me about is, what do you eat? How do you sleep? How often do you work out? What kind of exercise do you do? Do you just do core every day, or is it, a mix, or just do you do cardio? So yeah, I think this is something that a lot of people understand as part of the DNA of what we do here at Next Level, and in turn is part of the DNA of our kind of everyday lives. So we're going to talk about what it looks like in our lives. So Dr. Alex, what does that look like in your life?
Yeah, and I think some of those questions come up because we've all heard different strategies, and we understand that there's a kind of an ecosystem of health and wellness and fitness, and like, how do we even describe what health and fitness is? And there's been some kind of definitions thrown around and trying to define it. I'll paraphrase like an institution that I think has done pretty well is basically saying that, like, it's fitness is your ability to do work over a variety of like tasks, means, and leads to general wellness and health through the course of your life.
Yeah, I have a friend. He's a trainer, and also he has a growing YouTube channel called Chef Ange. His name is Angelo, and he says, I don't know if he coined it, but he phrases it as, your workout is the rent that you owe to live in your body, right? Your fitness and your health is a rent that you have to pay. It's not a choice. You have to pay the rent every day. And whether that's like working out, or that means like eating right, or that means, sleeping well and being hydrated, the rent is due every single day. And it's not a choice. It's mandatory.
Yeah. And it really is, I think, an investment in yourself where, just as we've heard, you want to eat a balanced diet. So too, that you want a balanced fitness and workout program that really, addresses your musculoskeletal system, your cardiovascular system, your central and peripheral nervous system. Like, all of those components come into like a good ecosystem to like optimize your body.
So take me through your daily routine. Like, so on a normal everyday kind of basis, like what does it look like? You wake up, what happens?
Wake up in the gym. Yeah, and I think this is something that people struggle with. I know I struggle with as well, is trying to perfect your daily routine. And I don't know if there is, a perfect routine, and definitely not for everybody. Mm-hmm. There's, different circadian rhythms and things that work best for people. I know personally for me that when I wake up, I try to, spend a little time, kind of centralizing my thoughts and everything, almost like a meditation / stretching a little bit in the morning. I'm getting older, so stretching is kind of important now. And then I try to hit a workout pretty early in the morning, because it sets me up in such a good way that I feel better throughout the day, and it just works for me. How about you? When do you usually?
So depending on the day, for the most days, I'm waking up pretty early because I have work early in the morning. So I usually wake up around 5 o'clock. I have water on my nightstand. I chug a bunch of water. room temperature water, not cold water, to kind of wake myself up, get the digestive system kind of flowing. Usually go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, leave the house, and I try to get in. I go to the office where I work out. I might have taken some sort of pre-workout prior to that, depending on your goals. I mean, a little bit of caffeine early in the morning. Studies have shown to help improve performance. So I take a pre-workout that has some caffeine in it, and also has a little bit of creatine, depending on what your fitness goals are and depending on what your kind of health looks like. Creatine could be helpful to you to build muscle and improve performance. And something else called beta alanine. Beta alanine is another kind of amino acid that helps with explosive performance in terms of strength training. So I take that along with probably another like half a liter of water at least. Usually try to work out for at least 45 minutes to an hour. And that is a combination of probably some cardio, some strength training, and then a bunch of stretching and mobility afterwards. And then I go about my day. And I usually, I'm currently doing some intermittent fasting where I'm not eating until a certain hour. And then I eat at about 12 to 1 o'clock will be my first meal. And then my last meal is about 7 or 8 p.m. And that whole process kind of repeats. But again, just like Alex said, this is my routine. And this is what people ask me about all the time. Like, what's your routine? But I have to reiterate that, my routine isn't necessarily going to work for you, or it might not even be good for you. So it really you need somebody to help dial it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you feel that it's been helpful to, get in that large amount of water first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Has that helped with any like cramping or like actual performance where like you feel like you can, put out?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, people tend to dehydrate during the night. I am one of the night sweaters. Like my body, I don't know why, it just produces a lot of heat. So I sweat a lot in the middle of the night, especially like I like sleep half naked, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 75% naked, unfortunately, for my wife and my sheets. But I have to, I feel the need to hydrate because it just feels like I'm so thirsty in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So especially you got to listen to your body. If you're thirsty, you got to take those signals as like you need some water.
Yeah. And I think, good for you. I read some studies that it's actually better to sleep, relatively colder. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe disrobed. And it actually like tends to work you.
Disrobed is a polite way of saying. It's a polite way of saying naked.
But yeah, I think that's exactly on the money that you said. You have to listen to your body. So there are so many wearables and apps out there right now. I've tried a ton of them. Specifically they sort of take your heart rate variability, your heart rate rhythm. Some assess your like blood oxygen saturation, and they're all geared to kind of tell you like, hey, this is your optimal window to exercise. I'll just say for me, I know that there's a ton of people out there who swear by them, and they probably, some are better than others. It's kind of like your weather app, mm-hmm. where it says it's sunny, but you look outside and you're like, it's raining. Like, I think you're lying to me, but I'll believe you because whatever. Yeah.
You're on the track and you ran 4 laps and you're like, but my watch says that I haven't run a mile yet.
Exactly. So it's like I've had apps that say like you're good to go, and I'm like, I feel like trash. I'm not picking anything up. I'm not running anywhere. And then there's other ones where like I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
But because I've had, let's say, less sleep, or my heart rate variability was affected a little bit by that. It's like, oh, you should take it really easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? I feel good to go. I feel geared. I'm ready to rock. So
yeah.
I think that's important that it's like, well, yeah, these apps kind of help, and some of these factors come into play.
Mm-hmm.
However, when it comes right down to it, if you feel exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
Don't do what a computer tells you. Like, you got to listen to what your body's telling you.
So were you, like growing up, obviously there had to be at some point in your life where you felt like, I'm going to make fitness a priority. Like, what was that point for you?
That's a good question. So when I was younger, my parents actually put me into martial arts when I was pretty young. And that kind of just led through my adolescence into like my young adulthood. But I think I never really actually hit the gym and worked out until I got to college. And it was just because I was hanging out with my suite mates and they were like, oh, we're going to the gym. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go with you. So I think that's where it clicked, where I got the bug of like, oh, so I've been doing martial arts. I think I'm conditioned and fit and whatever, but there's a hole in my game. Like, I'm definitely missing a good chunk.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if you guys didn't know, actually, Alex wrote a book about high intensity interval training, and is actually on Amazon. What's it called?
The Ultimate Guide to HIIT, or high intensity interval training.
Yeah. So you guys could look it up on Amazon. The guide to
the
HIIT.
ultimate guide.
The ultimate guide to HIIT.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great information in there about like. So most of my training is some form of HIIT training. It's a lot of circuits. It's a lot of body weight exercises. It's a lot of like bursts of activity with a little bit of rest, and bursts of activity with a little bit of rest, or bursts of high intensity followed by a burst of like slightly lower intensity. So is that kind of the way you train as well?
Yes. And again, different things work for different people. However, the research and a lot of studies have been done on HIIT and its benefits for just general body composition, but then also things like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, like the list goes on. And just as you kind of described about those intervals, not only do you get a lot of bang for your buck, because in a very short period of time, you are able to do more intensity than if you were to just kind of spread it out. It works your musculoskeletal system pretty well. You said body weight and some resisted exercises, but then also the intervals kind of challenge that cardiovascular system.
Absolutely.
And you do those intervals, so maybe the intervals are a little shorter, longer, depending on what you're going for that day. But then the entire workout is long. So you're now doing that, your 3 energy cycles of your like phosphocreatine cycle, your glycolytic cycle, your oxidative cycle. Like you're challenging all of those and working all of those at the same time you're doing your musculoskeletal system. Oh man, like,
and what it comes down to is like, I'm not training for the NFL Combine, right? You're not training for a marathon,
nope.
Right? Not yet. But if you're just trying to look to be healthier, stronger in general, put a little bit of muscle on, improve your cardiac output or your cardiac health, HIIT training really is the way to go, because just like you said, you're getting all the different phases of energy, right? You are stressing your cardiovascular system, you're stressing your musculoskeletal system, You will get stronger. You will get bigger. And to some of the people out there that might want to look toned, you'll look toned too. How great is that? And you'll shed some fat and some excess weight. So when in terms of most of my training looks like that. And when it comes to consistency, I find that because it's not 2 hours on the bike or like 6 hours of running or like being at the gym for 3.5 hours and waiting for 2 minutes in between sets and you're checking your cell phone or whatever, like you're in, you're out. It's efficient with my time. Like I have 3 kids. I have very little time to work out.
Yeah.
So if I could get a really good workout in 45 minutes, like hell yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, of course. And like you said, waiting those intervals, I know I've done this. It opens the window for like doom scrolling and all this stuff. And all of a sudden you're like, like
doom scrolling. I've never even heard.
Oh yeah. It's like where you just like get lost in the void of Instagram. And then you're like, oh my God, it's been like
2 hours,
half an hour. I should probably do another set. Like that's not how that works. So yeah. I think it keeps you on target. It handles all those things, and it creates it's that balance of some of those things. So if like we look at the last Olympics that just went on, and I'm gonna kind of go to the extremes of those sports, but if you look at those athletes, they've specified their bodies. There's so many different body types in the Olympics because they've specified and conditioned their bodies specifically for that one very particular sport. So if you take what you said, like a marathoner, and put them in shot put, or Olympic weightlifter, and try to get them to pole vault, they are not going to do well because that's not what they were going for. That's not what they're geared for. Now, by no means am I saying these athletes aren't fit.
Yeah.
But so like we're taking the marathoner, they've sacrificed some parts of their fitness to be so well at that one.
To be specific.
Exactly. So like they've sacrificed maybe upper body strength so they can be as light as possible, be able to absorb and endure that like amazing amount of oxidative stress for long periods of time. But we got to think also these are the top tier athletes. So when they're on their off season, they're focusing on strength, they're focusing on power, to keep them like healthy and well. But these are top tier echelon things that are very focused.
So I mean that's like so there's something called, and actually we talk about this in the low back pain book. That is not out yet, but Next Level's putting out a low back pain book.
Coming soon.
One of the things that we're talking about is generalized preparedness and specified preparedness, right? Those athletes are extremely specified in whatever they're prepared for, whatever they're preparing for, shot put, marathon, or whatever. So they're prepared for that activity. What people like you and I, or the everyday person, what we need to be prepared for is generalized preparedness. We need to be able to lift, a grocery bag off the floor. We need to be able to skip across a bunch of rocks in a lake. We need to be able to, load up some, lumber into our pickup truck. I don't have a pickup truck, but I kind of want one. But we need to be able to get off and on the floor, get up and down a flight of stairs without, breathing heavily. And that's called generalized preparedness. And the way we get to generalized preparedness is by moving your body in a lot of different ways and a lot of different planes of motion, and a lot of training that is very specific, like, cycling or powerlifting. It does not prepare you for generalized fitness. It does not prepare you generally for everything that you need to do. So that's another thing in terms of the circuits I do. and the circuits that Alex might do, we go through a lot of different movements. We go through a lot of different planes of movement, and we try to generalize the movement so that it will carry over to other activities.
Yeah, and would you agree that like even an athlete who's, you know, let's say a high school or an amateur athlete who's playing in those sports, like they'll benefit from
Absolutely.
You know, generalized fitness and possibly prevent injury.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing about it. It's like people ask me all the time, like, how do you prevent injury? And of course, there's something to be said, like you can't prepare for everything.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't really prepare for what it feels like or what your body's going to do when you get hit by a 300-pound lineman. Like you're just not. There's nothing that you could do about that. But outside of the catastrophic, right, we could prepare for a lot of things. We could build resiliency in a lot of different planes of movement, right? There's a lot of times people they pick up golf and they've never moved their body in that way. So, you know, they get hurt.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I mean, we see it so often that most of the time, you know, like you said, barring any like significant trauma, most of the time injuries are typically due to either like poor movement patterns, poor kinesthetic awareness, or like muscular imbalances and things like that. And unless you address those, the injury may just kind of reoccur over and over again.
Absolutely. And I think that like it comes down to habit, right? If you get into a habit of making your health a priority, whether it's eating right or hydrating or sleeping well or exercising properly, if you make a habit of any of these things, and I recommend that whatever program you start, do it for 40 days, and it's going to become a habit. You know, a lot of the next level program or the level up program that we have here is designed for you to do it for longer than 30 days. We want you to extend it past like a 3-month period, because that's how you actually build habits. You don't build a habit by doing it for a week.
Right. Absolutely. And I think you even started off saying like you put your bottle of water like on your nightstand, ready to go. If anyone's read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, it was like a bestseller not too long ago. But he, you know, one of the things he says is make it easy, make it attainable, because like you said, it was the HIIT training and stuff like that. It's not a 6-hour thing. It's minimal preparation. If you have your clothes out the night before, you have your water bottle on your side, you eliminate a lot of those like pausing and gaps and you know, reasons for excuses where you're just like, okay, I'm set up for the day. I gotta go. I gotta do this.
And it doesn't make it easy. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Every day that I wake up at 5 o'clock and I hit my alarm to shut up because I set 6 of them for 5-minute intervals prior to that, it does cost something. And if you get into the habit of preparing things the night before and making sure you're making it a priority, like it makes it just that much easier. And sometimes all you need is just a little bit of a push. So I really recommend that you guys all start this process of building a routine, building healthy habits, maybe even picking up Dr. Alex's book if you want to start your own program, or come to Next Level and we could help you start that program with the Level Up program, which is kind of like a personal training program where we're building out a set schedule for you with workouts and exercises and things of that nature, where you could come consistently and build some good habits.
And I really think it's like a balanced program, and it's really based on, we take, so we're a physical therapy clinic, first and foremost. So we're like those movement experts that we screen when you first come in, and really based on your specific needs, we'll tailor a program to fit your goals and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to talk about, and I think we probably still have more content that we could talk about in terms of sleep and hydration and nutrition and things of that nature. It could go on forever. How to build your own kind of like HIIT program. All that stuff is we could talk about in the future. But for today, we just want to introduce you to a little bit of what makes Next Level tick, and hopefully it was helpful. Have a good one. Bye.